Give all your thoughts a fighting chance. Ask your fears and doubts. Would you like to dance? And open up your eyes. See the world and let the world see you. Take the time to love the things you do, and you hear it when your spirit starts to rise.
Hello, I'm Christian O'Neill. Welcome to Path to Wellness. This is a show where we present our viewers with information regarding the wide variety of approaches to health and healing that are found throughout our society. Because the allopathic or Western medical model is the dominant paradigm within the United States, approaches to health and healing that lie outside of this model are often referred to as alternative therapies. To many, these alternative healthcare modalities are divided along a spectrum, with therapies that seem reasonably conventional, like chiropractic, on one end, and the more unconventional or esoteric therapies on the other. Often, these less understood therapies are those which claim to work on an energetic level. You may hear these therapies collectively referred to as woo-woo within more conventionally minded circles. To many, radionics, the therapy we will be discussing today, would definitely fall into this category. Because energetic therapies such as radionics do not easily lend themselves to analysis via the scientific method, they are generally dismissed by the Western medical community. Interestingly, though, there are many bright people who practice these therapies and who are certain of their healing potential. Our guest today is one of these bright people. Robert Stevens is the director of the New Mexico School of Natural Therapeutics and has been both a student and teacher of natural healing modalities for many years. Today, Robert is going to share his knowledge about radionics with us and let us know how this unusual healing modality can contribute to health and healing. So thanks a bunch for joining us, Robert.
You're very welcome, Christian.
So, radionics, what we're going to talk about today, is an energetic therapy. Some people are familiar with craniosacral. That's another type of therapy that works with energetics. Maybe for our viewers that don't have any understanding of this, you could start us off by telling us about energy and how it manifests in the body.
Okay, energy, to put it very simply, would be source consciousness. So if we had a cadaver laid out on this table here today, and you and I sitting here speaking, what's the difference? That life energy, that source consciousness has been taken out of that cadaver, and all animation, all chemical function, all thought process, all feeling processes have gone with that life energy. So a human being is comprised of a source consciousness that has many different names: soul, spirit, life energy, core current. And that energy is what gives function to all the other parts of what make a human being up.
Okay.
Those parts are a mental body, which generates thought, an emotional body, which generates feeling, an etheric body, which is a body comprised of flowing prana. Prana is source energy that's been slowed down. And then there's the physical body. So energy is the conscious life principle that animates everything.
So everyone's aware that the physical body, it can be sickness, injury, etc. But my understanding is that these other energetic bodies that you're talking about can also have blockages or a disharmony within them?
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Okay.
So people who have an understanding of what a human being actually is and how it functions mechanically believe that the last manifestation of symptoms in a disease process are physical, and that process started, generally speaking, in the mental plane first, then worked through the emotional, through the etheric, into the physical body. So the tool of radionics, as just one example, is a tool that's used to try to get closer in the unseen world of what a human being is, to determine what started this whole process of imbalance that manifested in these physical symptoms. We don't think that symptoms begin on the physical. That's where they actually end, so to speak, their final expression.
Okay. So I'm wondering, radionics is a way, for instance, if I had a blockage in my colon, we could take an X-ray or a CT and we could see that.
Correct.
Radionics is it a way to think of it that it's an instrument or a technique where you can find disharmony in these unseen bodies?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So your idea of, okay, this image gives me a clear picture of a blockage in my intestine. But was there something that preceded that blockage that caused that blockage to be in your large intestine that can't be seen via whatever you're using, CAT scan, X-ray, whatever? So the tool of radionics, we want to look deeper into the unseen and see if we can find a causative factor that's pre-physical.
I'm guessing that these people, when they have these blockages in these energetic bodies, what are some of the things that have led to those blockages?
Trauma.
Okay. Physical, emotional?
Mental trauma, emotional trauma, physical trauma.
Okay.
It can be a shock or shocks. It can be purely psychological. It could be purely physical that still impacts into the deeper anatomy. It could be chemical. It could be diet related, etc.
Okay, so even your diet can affect your energetic bodies.
Yeah, because everything is composed at its core of energy. So all food at its core is energy. For example, potatoes are what's known as earth energy. Leafy green vegetables are what's known as water energy. Grains are what's known as fire energy. Fruits that grow in trees and nuts are known as air energy. So if we can completely digest a food, at the end of the digestion is a liberation of that elemental energy. That elemental energy is then picked up by the etheric body and impacts the emotional body. So the end of digestion results in a feeling. So if your food is full of chemicals, if your food is full of genetically modified organisms, that has the potential of being a trauma to your deeper anatomy, which will then result, eventually, if you continue that type of lifestyle, to result in physical symptoms.
Okay, so that brings me to this question. What do these blockages look like in individuals that are coming to see you for radionic analysis? What sorts of
They always begin the same on the physical level. All right? They begin with inflammation. The longer the inflammation cycle continues, then we have the manifestation of pain. The longer the pain cycle continues, then the symptoms become more complex. So people that come for radionics, it's all over the place. People will come for migraines, people will come for cancer, people will come for pain from back sports or workplace related injuries, pain in various different parts of the body, poor kidney adrenal function, fatigue, exhaustion. And then we have the mental components of poor concentration, poor memory, psychological disturbances like chronic depression, anger, grief, sorrow, etc. Mm-hmm. So really radionic is a tool that can be used to treat anything as a standalone method or in conjunction with other forms of treatment, including conventional medicine, allopathic.
Okay. So we actually went to Robert's office and he took us through the steps of a radionic analysis, and we have some video footage of that. So let's take a look at that and then we'll come back and continue on with our discussion. Here we are, we're in Robert's office and we have the radionics equipment out in front of us, and Robert's gonna explain what a radionic analysis entails.
Okay, so this system of radionics was developed by Malcolm Ray. It has two charts. One of the charts says analysis and one of the charts says treatment. They sit on top of a chart holder like so, and then this chart holder plugs into this box. This box has a dial called a potentiometer and has 4 switches. One max and mean, one says factor, one says location, one says correction. This is how this language of geometric shape looks. There's a series of circles. The energy of a circle we know is continual. And on the inside, on the inner boundary of the innermost circle, there are certain radii that have been placed. I made up my own card to represent the soul, and I call it core mother template. So this would be the deepest treatable level of our composition that could be treated, okay? So I'm going to take the core mother template and I'm going to put it in a location slot. I got a couple strands of John's hair here. Now this gives me a link to him energetically. I can compare him to whatever's in this instrument. The next thing is you have to have very accurately formed questions to get accurate responses. I asked the question, is the earliest detectable factor imprinted upon the core mother template located in the left portion of scale 2, the central portion of scale 2, the right portion of scale 2? I get a positive indication by a clockwise swing of my pendulum. What is the earliest detectable factor imprinted upon the core mother template? Other hypersensitivity, malignancy. I have a positive here on damage. I have a positive on shock, psychosomatic, environmental stress. I have a positive here on elemental emotions. The elemental emotions are 5 in number. Grief, I have a positive on. Desire, anger, attachment, fear. So I get a positive on grief. So I have 3 factors that have shown up, that have imprinted themselves on John's soul. Grief. So the grief card goes in there. And then I have damage, goes in there. And then I have shock. And now we get to play treatment. All right? So, the question is, what system of remedies contains the simillimum? Gem therapy, light therapy, have a positive here on color therapy. What color remedy represents the simillimum? Orange, lemon, blue, and I have a positive on green. What is the percentage of damage, shock, and grief imprinted upon the core mother template in relationship to green? Between 100% and 90%, and this comes around here and goes positive on 0. So that means theoretically, this particular medicine, green, has the potential to completely eliminate these blockages, these conditions. And I take the green here, and then I take this bottle, which has grain alcohol in it, and put it in this instrument. It takes 1 minute for that to impregnate that water. So then I take the liquid out of here, which is now green at the 10 mm potency, and I put a few drops on these sucrose tablets, and there's John's medicine.
Okay, so we're back, and as the viewers could see from the footage, a pendulum has a big part in the radionic analysis. Tell us a little bit about that.
Pendulum is a tool for dowsing. Dowsing is a method of determining something, whatever you want to determine. Like it's common to use willow branches to find water on a piece of land. The difference between dowsing and radionics is the tool. So a pendulum is used as an extension of one's intuition, one's conscious source energy to determine something. In this case, we're trying to determine what's bothering you as a human being. Why aren't you feeling well? So a pendulum is just a simple tool. It's been around, long time, thousands and thousands of years. And it takes a lot of practice for an individual to become confident in using a pendulum as a tool of inquiry and its accuracy.
Does everyone have the potential to be able to learn to use the pendulum?
Absolutely, everyone. It just takes time and practice. That's all.
Okay.
Anybody that wants to put the time and the practice into it can become a skilled dowser.
Okay. But how does one know when they've reached that point, when they can actually trust their pendulum? Because in other words, I've actually used them a few times, but I wouldn't feel at all comfortable diagnosing based on that. So how does one develop the competence?
It's been very difficult to put this into language, but when you start to use a pendulum, eventually there's a thought that I think comes through your intellect, is that the mind is influencing the directional spin of the pendulum. And this is a common thought. One has to be able to practice long enough that that doubt that the intellect presents is eliminated. Now, the easiest way to eliminate that doubt is by treating. And when the results come back consistently as being positive, then the intellect becomes satisfied that the tool that you're using is being effective to help people. Now, when that happens, the intellect becomes quiet. And then that doubt in one's mind has been eliminated, and then your skill as a dowser makes a large jump.
So you're using your pendulum also to come up with the remedies during radionics.
That's correct.
Okay, now in the video that we watched, one of the remedies for John was green. What are some of the other remedies that would be determined by a radionic analysis?
In the system that I'm using that was developed by Malcolm Ray, it's very flexible to the individual's education and background and interests. So I have access to using gems as medicine, color, flower essences, homeopathy, musical notes in all octaves, acupuncture, meridians. I think that's all I'm currently using. In my practice, predominantly I'm using color, flower essences, and homeopathy.
Okay.
Which would all be considered energetic-based medicine, which means they're functioning on an energetic level rather than a chemical level. So there's no potential of any side effects with these type of medicines. Plus, there's no potential of harm using these medicines in relationship to conventional allopathic medicines that are functioning on a chemical level. Okay.
Now, I actually did radionics with Robert last summer, and I just want to talk about my experience briefly. You gave me a couple of remedies. One was a flower essence, and one was to have some core therapy done, which is an energetic treatment that Robert actually developed, and we'll talk about that on another show. I did that for 4 weeks, and then 2 weeks later, I made a momentous decision in my life, and I had totally forgotten about radionics. And this was a decision that really changed the direction of my life, and I'd wanted to make it for a long time, but I didn't for whatever reason. So I do my treatments. They were over a month period of time for the treatments, and then 2 weeks later, I make the decision. And then my girlfriend pointed out to me, she said, wow, radionics is really something, and I had totally forgotten. Now, can I definitely say that radionics did that? I can't definitely say that. On the other hand, I did radionics and something changed. So is the experience that I'm describing right now, is that something that you've seen with other people that you've treated?
Too many times to count.
Okay.
Over and over again. Now, you asked the question, did radionics do that? And I would say that indirectly. You did that. You had mentioned that you made a decision that you had wanted to make for a long period of time, but were unable to find it within yourself how to make that decision. So the radionics analysis determines, okay, you have this blockage on this level, and this particular medicine will open up that blockage if it's successful. One of the things that happened when that blockage was opened up is you found the ability inside yourself to make a decision that you didn't know how to make. So who did it? Ultimately, you did it. And that's how we heal. We heal ourselves, but we need help in finding out how we can go about making the decisions that we need to make in our life, expressing our traumas, our feelings, etc.
Okay. Well, now let me ask you this. Now, after I completed, or after anyone were to complete the remedies, if you did another radionic analysis right then, should you be able to see results in your analysis? It should be different than the original analysis?
Yeah. So the first analysis, the one that I did on you the first time, when we get done with the analysis part of the process, the last thing I do is to determine a percentage of whatever condition showed up. So let's say it's shock in the imprinted upon the core, between 100 and 90%. Okay? So then the next time that a person comes, that's where I start off. The first thing that I want to determine is the shock that's been imprinted upon the core been eliminated to zero. What if it's only gone 50%? Now that means then that we have to find another remedy that would effectively eliminate the remaining 50% of that previous condition. I have seen that treatments become longer and longer as we get deeper and deeper into a person's constitution. So let's say somebody's coming for help with diabetes. It might take a number of treatments to actually get to say we are physically treating diabetes now, right? But all the treatments prior to that point would have been treating diabetes in the pattern from the mental into the physical. Okay?
We're kind of winding up the end here. We've got a couple minutes left, and you and I had a good discussion at your house that day, and I want to touch on a couple things, not about radionics right now. One is you have some ideas about allopathic medicine. You said some areas where it shines. In your view, what's the strength of allopathic medicine?
Life-saving, emergency room practices, and I believe that's where pharmacy shines also. And surgical repair. There's some absolutely phenomenal, brilliant stuff going on.
And what about maybe some areas where allopathic medicine is falling short? What comes to mind?
Well,
is that too big?
No, but we're going to get into a difference in understanding the process of what causes disease. It seems to me from my study that the foundation of allopathic medicine is resting upon a single principle, that germs cause disease. And so the practice basically is try to determine what microorganism is responsible for these symptoms, and then find a substance that will kill those microorganisms, and then you have your health back. Or find a substance that will magically create an environment where you're immune to these microorganisms, which we call vaccination. In the practice of natural healing, as far as I understand it, we're not trying to kill anything. And we don't recognize that microorganisms are the cause of any symptoms. They're a result of a terrainal activity. Basically, they're a process of fermentation in the terrain, and they're manifesting to help the terrain make a journey back to balance.
Well, do you have any ideas of how we could bring these energetic modalities together along with the best of allopathic medicine? I mean, the rift is pretty wide. In my experience, that in medical school, you don't hear much about energetic medicine for sure. What do you see down the road?
Well, may I respond to that?
Please.
The reason that you don't hear about it in medical school, as far as my research has taken me, is because there's no concept in allopathic medicine of an energetic life source. So how can you address it if there's no concept? The father of modern medicine is Hippocrates. There was a definite concept in Hippocrates' approach to life and medicine and healing that had to do with life as an energetic concept. What happened to it? It was deliberately and purposely removed from the teaching body of allopathic philosophy. So how do you address that if it's not there? It was taken out. But to answer your question, how can we merge, cooperate? It's pretty simple. Let us in the hospitals. Now, the problem is philosophical, but it doesn't have to be. What about the patient that's suffering? Okay? Why can't there be more cooperation with different disciplines with actual suffering to see? Does this work or doesn't this work? Why can't there be cooperation? How come there's no homeopath in the ER facility? Homeopathy is brilliant in emergency circumstance. Unbelievable. Why isn't there a homeopath there? The medicines are very cheap. It would be a significant cost saving. How come there's no colon therapist in a hospital doing colonics? Why aren't there any bodywork people helping people that are in bed with bodywork? Because people don't understand it? Are they worried about being sued? Are they worried about being cost? I don't understand. It seems to me that medicine has gotten away from the idea of trying to relieve suffering and has been obsessed with the bottom line as a business.
And also, if anyone is interested in reading some of the writings of an MD who does endorse having homeopaths and energy workers right in the hospital, they should go to Patch Adams' website. He's got some brilliant stuff that he's written. It's really nice. So, okay, well, we could spend much longer talking about this, but I want to thank you so much for coming in, Robert, and shedding light on radionics and sharing your general perspective with us on healthcare. And if someone was interested in working with you and getting radionics done, could they contact you through the school?
Yeah, through the school, New Mexico School of Natural Therapeutics. 268-6870
okay.
is our office number.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a bunch. Okay.
Pleasure.
We're going to wrap up the show here. Before we do, I want to thank everybody, thank the crew, thank Robert for coming on. If you like the show, check us out online, www.pathstowellness.net. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, send them to me at dro@pathstowellness.net. Come back and see us next week. Before we go, we would like to leave you with something to chew on. We call it the Cud. This week's Cud comes from Herbert Spencer. He wrote, "There's a principle which is a bar against all information, which is proof against all arguments, and which cannot fail to keep a man in everlasting ignorance. That principle is contempt prior to investigation." Thanks a bunch for watching. Remember, until next week, it's your body, learn to care for it. It's your mind, learn to focus it. It's your heart, learn to awaken it. Peace.
Keep on opening doors. Let the past pour out your pores. You cast hopeful lords.